Money and property rights. Humans' relationship with assets is the simplest definition of property rights. The government was first formed to protect humans' property rights to the assets they own. Let's talk about some commonly known assets, which are real estate, stocks, money, cash in bank, commodities, scarce art, Bitcoin. The harder it is to confiscate or seize the above-mentioned assets is directly proportional to the strength of the said asset property rights. And the asset with strongest property rights, meaning extremely hard to seize or confiscate or inflate, will promote peaceful negotiations between two parties rather than resolution with war. So let's talk about each asset mentioned above and their strength of property rights. Real estate. Real estate holds the weakest property rights among all assets. It's highly liquid, highly non-portable, and highly non-divisible. Real estate can be easily seized and confiscated if desired by the king of the kingdom. It's a physical asset that can't be moved, and for that reason, it holds the weakest property rights in a free market. Seizure or confiscation is one leg of property rights. The other leg is inflation of the said asset. If real estate is monetized like right now when majority of the developed nations and their citizens store their wealth in it, then massively increasing the supply of houses will massively dilute the holders of real estate, and prices will crash. If the supply of a given asset can be increased easily through a centralized entity, then that asset holds weak property rights. In the case of real estate, the centralized entity would be government. The government controls the real estate through permitting, bylaws, etc. Stocks. Stocks hold weak property rights as well. Stocks can be seized, and the holder can be prevented from liquidating the stocks for cash or any other asset that holds strong property rights. In addition, a company can issue more stocks and dilute the holders of the company's stock. The supply of the stocks increases and prices crash. Thus, stocks hold poor property rights. Number 4. Money. Cash in bank. The cash in bank has a lot of counterparty risk. The bank is trusted to protect your cash. Your cash or your money in bank can be seized and confiscated very easily. There is nothing preventing the seizure of your cash if the entity that you entrusted with cash decides to seize it. Cash or money can be inflated and is being inflated away as I make this video. The total global debt stands at approximately $300 trillion. To pay only $1 trillion of that debt would take approximately 32,000 years, so the debt is already unpayable, which means the only way to slow down the insolvency of the global debt is to keep inflating paper currency. The one constant for sure is that money supply has to increase for the current monetary system to survive, and that means that holders of the cash will get diluted and their money will be worth less tomorrow. In 1913, before we came off the gold standard, an ounce of gold was $18 and now it is almost $2,000. To put that in perspective, the dollar has lost 99.1% of its purchasing power in 110 years, and it will continue without a doubt. Number 4. Commodities. Commodities like gold, silver, copper, or oil hold poor property rights as well. In 1933, US President by the name of Roosevelt ordered all the US citizens to surrender their physical gold to the government. US citizens would be committing a federal crime if they choose to not surrender their gold. Most of the citizens did surrender, and the ones who didn't, their gold was seized. The seized gold was then re-evaluated at a lower price to counteract the inflation effects of the massive money printing after World War I. Gold is physical, so it's easy to seize. Gold is not very portable, so can't be shipped across borders easily. The same is true for all the other commodities as well. Gold is a good hedge against inflation though. Gold on average maintained an inflation rate of 1 to 2% for hundreds of years. When the price of gold goes up, miners want to produce more to profit from high prices. But gold can't be produced out of thin air. It requires hard work to mine gold, and for that reason, if an individual stores their wealth in gold, they can't be diluted easily. Gold has done a good job as a hedge against inflation. Look at the history of gold price in dollar terms. In 1913, it was 18 US dollars, and now it's almost 2,000 US dollars. Other commodities like silver, copper, or oil can be inflated more easily than gold. When the price of copper goes up, miners are incentivized to produce more to cash in on higher copper prices, and that increases supply of copper and prices crash. Number 5. Scarce art. Scarce art holds weak property rights and can be seized easily. It's hard to transport as well, which makes it less portable. Scarce art, however, can't be inflated easily. A Mona Lisa art would be impossible to replicate. Number 6. Bitcoin. Bitcoin holds the supreme property rights in human history. Bitcoin, when stored properly, is almost impossible to seize or confiscate. It's not physical, and it exists in the digital realm. So in order to access it, an individual needs a private key, which is a random combination generated by a computer, and is impossible to regenerate by a thief or seizing party. The holder of the private key holds the asset. The private key can be a 12-word or 24-word phrase that can be memorized. Bitcoin can also be safely secured in collaborative custody with a combination of almost 7 keys, so you need all 7 keys to access the funds, removing a single point of failure. Bitcoin can be transported at speed of light anywhere in the world within seconds, and nothing can stop that transaction. For the first time in human history, humans can take their wealth with them to their grave. The incentives to kill someone to steal or confiscate goes away when the attacking party knows that the asset cannot be confiscated, so the only option is negotiation. If a country attacks another country to only find out that the enemy's assets are impossible to confiscate, then they aren't incentivized to attack. War is expensive, and for it to continue, the attacking party needs resources and wealth of the defeated nation. In the past, that was the case with gold or other commodities like oil. The Nazis would first go to the central bank to steal all the gold so they can keep funding the ongoing war. Bitcoin is the only money or commodity in the world that cannot be inflated at will. Bitcoin has a fixed supply, and its supply schedule is already known to the participants of the network. Currently, 6.25 Bitcoins are produced every 10 minutes, and the supply schedule will reduce to 3.125 Bitcoin every 10 minutes around spring of 2024. The last Bitcoin mined will be approximately around year 2140, and after that, no more Bitcoin can be mined or produced. This is immutable, and these rules cannot be changed or bent regardless of any geopolitical event, such as pandemic or war. For that reason, Bitcoin holds the supreme property rights in human history. Up until Bitcoin, any money or commodity could be inflated if the incentives existed. Bitcoin gets harder to mine when the prices go up, and miners are incentivized to mine more, but it gets harder to mine to ensure a constant supply of Bitcoin. Conclusion. Supreme property rights incentivize humans to collaborate and negotiate instead of brute force, such as war. Because the degree of difficulty to confiscate or seize an asset is directly proportional to probability of settlement without war or bloodshed. Moreover, supreme property rights also keep authorities disciplined and force them to uphold freedom rights such as freedom of speech of the citizens of the country. That keeps people from dividing, and instead we build a prosperous and peaceful society.